Hey friends, this is Sacred Frames. Sean Palmer, Movie Mike Yager. I'm Jeff Cook. We're talking about the Pit and its overlap with spirituality. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing?
Love the hell out of this show. A lot of people love the hell out of this show. It's worth talking about from a variety of angles, and just gonna get into this.
Should we name the fact that this is our first non-movie episode? Like, it is Sacred Frames.
Yeah, let's take a minute.
So it's not just movies, and there's a. So we can do TV shows. I think the Pit is unique. You guys, I'd love to hear your responses to that. This, being kind of the old man in the group, I remember actual television shows and must-see TV nights and appointment viewing. And when a TV show became part of the zeitgeist and the monoculture, and that does not happen very often anymore.
It's true.
We have this joke in our house about like what's on our internet. Like the girls will talk about something and I'll go, well, I don't know about it. I'll be like, well, that's just not on my internet, right? The algorithms have forced all of us into these little niches. And this show, as much I think as a show can in the 21st century, has become the closest thing to a monoculture show that I remember. Has that been true for you all?
I got really into Game of Thrones. I had that experience then. Obviously, the NFL in our state really bonds people across the divide. But yeah, it is absolutely the idea of must-see television is something I've experienced with it. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, I was internally resistant at first when this idea was brought forward that we would talk about a television show on this movie podcast, as Movie Mike, you've dubbed me, and so and that has generally
Mike
been,
Mike goes full on Enneagram 4 right from the get go.
So we are breaking form in a sense, and I have always gravitated to film storytelling because I find a beauty in the 2 hour, 2.5 hour on a high end like structure of tell me a story, and you've got these boundaries that become much more difficult when you talk about episodic television, especially those that sprawl out over multiple seasons, and especially to y'all's points, as television, whatever that even means anymore in the age of streaming, is so disparate and spread across a dozen different platforms, and everyone is watching their own thing, and so very rarely is it that there is a show that has a kind of interest level across these disparate quadrants of folks, splintered attention, but then also has the not only the touch points of classic episodic network television, but has the pieces of the visceral daring of the newer age of television storytelling in terms of what can be wrestled with and depicted in on HBO Max or what have you. So I'm excited to get into it. I think that we're biting off a lot because we're jumping in here at the end of now the second season that has just aired its finale, having aired weekly. Another difference in how it's delivered to us than a lot of streaming that just comes dropped in one clump and you binge as you care to. So this weekly model has gotten us back to something that we had gotten away from a lot of times, but it's 2 seasons of storytelling, 2 seasons of character development, and we're not going to be able to be comprehensive in that, but we're hoping to cherry pick some moments and characters and performances, those that really resonate, and indicate why this is a deep and worthy bit of storytelling to look at through our particular prisms. Sorry, that was meandering.
It works. Actually, just speaking of TV versus movies, my categories kind of go toward something like short form storytelling and long form storytelling, given how things just feel now, just because so many of these shows have just that same film movie quality in terms of the cinematography often, or even the script writing. Oftentimes the script writing is better. Do y'all have thoughts on if there needs to be a division between quote unquote TV and film or movies?
We can't hear you, Sean.
So here's what arrests me every time I start an episode of The Pitt, which I kind of like. It looks like a TV show.
It's true.
Like it's one set. It's brightly lit. If you've been around long enough to remember the big three, CBS, ABC, NBC, I could watch any of those shows and look at it and know, oh, this is an ABC show or this is an NBC show, just from the way it was lit. And what I like about The Pitt is that it's unapologetically a TV show versus other things like The Diplomat, for instance, on Netflix, which is really popular. It's a TV show that's trying to be a movie. And I actually believe one of the reasons that The Pitt has resonated with people so much, like both of my daughters, I have two daughters, one is 19, one is 22. They have standing events on Thursday nights with their friends, which are Pitt viewing parties, like in college, which heralds back to me on Thursday nights when I was in college. ER started my junior year of college. Me and my friends had our prayer group late at night on Thursday, and part of the night would be at 9 p.m. watching ER together. Like as we were ramping up, like it was appointment something. And that sort of regularity, I like The Pitt because it's not trying to be a movie, but I will also say this, and I think maybe, Mike, this is a little bit of what you were getting after. As cinephiles, I don't watch a lot of TV. When people ask you, like, how do you watch so many movies? And I'm like, I don't watch a lot of TV. Like Jeff mentioned a couple of episodes ago, Shogun. Yeah, so that's like 15 hours of viewing. And I'm thinking 15 hours of viewing, I can get a bunch of movies in that time. I just don't watch a lot of TV shows. So it's fascinating to me that this one popped, and the writing is upscaled from a TV show. Like I will never understand how a show like Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon ever make it. The writing on those shows is terrible.
Truth.
2.5 Men is absolutely awful in every way, but was the biggest show on TV in a while. So that, I don't know that the divide has to be a real sharp one, but I still believe there is a divide there. Movies, good movies, are about ideas more than entertainment. And television shows tend to be more about entertainment than about ideas. And there's obviously bleed over, like some movies are just for entertainment, and some television shows like The Pitt are about ideas. So the gap is closing, but I think the gap still exists.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. What I've loved about long form storytelling recently is that a lot of the best shows have shown the transformation of characters over time, which you can do in a 2-hour film. But the achievements in Breaking Bad, the achievements in Game of Thrones, the achievements even in a show like this, even though it's like a day, that there's movement in the characters, is the thing that's really appealing to me. Obviously, I'm an idea guy. I'm a professional philosopher, but and love the hell out of movies that go down that road. That's what I like most about it. What do you say, Mike?
Yeah, I think that. No, it's interesting because the nature of long form episodic storytelling in this way, it's I think what I'm appreciating about it is that the Pit is telling you, even in its title, what the central character of this piece is. It's not really about these doctors, it's about this world. Like the hospital is in essence the central character, and all of the, you know, the people floating through it are part of a system that's harder to do in a movie. But and I think, as we'll get into, as you know, we have characters from season 1 who are not in season 2. We know of some characters in season 2 who are not likely to be in the series moving forward. There's a dynamic nature of how a cast shifts in and out that obviously is beneficial to this storytelling form. I think that's what I was getting at before, is that form follows function. So it's about the story that's being told and the right container in which to tell it. So it really bothers me when there is a tendency now for a streaming service to take what would have been, even 10 years ago, a 2-hour movie, and instead they're going to extend it and stretch it out to a 6-hour to an 8-hour miniseries that does not have the plot, the character development to warrant it. And that's what's feeling the kind of bloat and the disconnection of, well, what's a movie, what's a TV show? It's really like all of these companies are trying to cheaply stretch out as much content as possible to keep you on their platform over one of the others. So the Pit, I mean, to go back to what Sean said, I love that, like, it's not making any bones about it. No, we're a TV show, and we're a throwback TV show where the consistency of this characters and this world is like so much the selling point, because you're just trying to get people, to stick around in between commercial breaks, which obviously is not the same motivating factor it once was, but is getting more and more so as the streamers are now getting less and less free and more like the TV that we thought we had gotten away from.
Well, this is a medical drama. Do a great job on some gore, some squeamish scenes. You gotta. How do you guys handle the medical scenes? Are you? I'm watching this. That's really interesting. How did they do the prosthetics? Or are you like me and generally turn away?
It depends on what it is. Like, some I'm like, that is so cool, and others like I'm like, I can't watch it. So I will say this to the whole world. Only really my wife knows this about me. I don't do blood.
Huh?
I get super squeamish around blood. And so it depends how bloody the thing is. There are some this year, this will come up later in one of our categories. I think some of the most harrowing medical stuff isn't all that gory or bloody in this season, and some of the bloody stuff is not as serious as they make it seem. But it's just, there's a lot of blood around it. So I don't do blood.
Was there one scene in particular that hit you?
Well, we'll talk about that. That's one of our categories.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't want to step
well,
on
I was trying to subtly transition into the categories, but Sean is setting the stage for us with 5 categories. The first of which is, what's the one medical scene that made you close your eyes?
Yeah. What was that for you, Jeff?
All of them. I'm the worst. My dad is a dentist. I've had to help him with some crazy facial repairs when his assistants wouldn't come in on the weekends. I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you can get in this. I wanted to make the joke. I think the only actual medical scene that I actually watched was very early on when they were trying to repair the man's erection, but that was, I think, the only sex scene in the whole show, and so maybe that's why it was intriguing. But how about you, Mike?
Yeah, so I was actually late to this show. I didn't start watching until the first season. No, first season was already well done. Lauren had watched it all on her own, so my wife is is in healthcare. She was a neonatal nurse for a number of years. Now works in more the administrative development side of things. But so she has been in from moment one. I can watch, like I'm a, suburban kid from the late 90s. I was playing Doom and Mortal Kombat. Like I can handle like all manner of excessive blood and gore, and the level of desensitization like truly worries me from time to time. But then when you are talking about like the reality of the hospital setting, like that is where I get my like heebie-jeebies instantly. So I am watching the entirety of the series like through parted fingers, and Lauren will tell me not to watch, and I do anyway because I can't not allow myself, even though it makes me. So my answer to the moment that really, and just even the word, hearing the word degloving is something that so there's been a catastrophe at the water park, and a gentleman has caught his wedding band on a portion of the slide and has degloved him, which means I'm going to hold up my hand to peel the skin off of your finger flesh. And like, I don't need that in my life ever, now or ever.
So if you are listening and not watching on YouTube, you need to know that Jeff can't even hear Mike talk about it.
So it's either that or our poor young man with like the parents who had been deported, who blew off two of his fingers with the firework early on. Like it's the hand stuff is really tragic for me, I guess. More than
yeah. But it's on his non-dominant hand, and it's his least strong fingers. They make a big deal about that, right? It's like, oh, you won't, you don't need that. Like, we are fairly open conversationalist. I will save the joke that I told Rochelle about that later. But you can imagine what my junior high brain thought when they were explaining to him that it was his non-dominant hand and that he'd be okay.
It's a good one.
So for me, the medical moment of the season actually isn't that gory, but it's episode 15, Langdon's spinal cord injury procedure.
That was badass.
Where he's Robbie tells him to doctor the F up. They hold him, he has the rest of the team hold his shoulders down and basically like pulls on his head to separate vertebrae, once to the left, once to the right. Like that's actually the most dangerous scene, I think, also of the year. Like, and that's when Langdon comes back and says, like, I could have paralyzed that guy. Like that is, and I hate to keep coming back to this, like, the helplessness, and I just know this from recent events, of being in the emergency room and know that on some level you've got a great team, but they are also just trying crap. Right. Like, let's see if this works. Let's see if this is the thing. Like that was the medical moment of the season, but also for some story reasons. Because I feel like this is for season 2 when Langdon really recovers his own confidence, both as a doctor and as a human. And Robbie relates to Langdon not as someone who has disappointed him, but as another doctor, and says, you've seen this done. I haven't even done that. Like, do it. So that's my medical moment of the season.
To build on that, because it's a topic I wanted to touch on here, is the moments where there's male bonding, what it looks like to be part of a community with other men, especially as your inner life is exposed and you're dealing with your junk. And that, I found that the best scene of the season. because of what happens in the aftermath of it. There is the doctor, the F up side of it, but then there's the celebration of a man who has really failed in his mind and heart, the people around him, and suddenly being celebrated really hit me. And what that said, as you were saying, what I saw there was like his identity comes back there. Like, this is who I want to be, is all over that character. It's so hard to pull off, and I've found that very moving.
Except for critically, well, and also critically, the person who's not celebrating is Robbie, who immediately walks out of the room. He tells him good job, but it's the one person who he desperately wants the approval from, who is continuing to, in that moment withhold it for his own reasons, and I'm sure we'll get into. I'll be coming back to Langdon, I know that for sure.
Well, just because we're there, I would push back. I feel like the good job Robbie gave him was a huge step for them both.
I think it's both.
That was how I took it. But go ahead.
Here's my read.
Yeah.
Every man to step into his manhood desires an older man to say the words, "You can do it." Mm-hmm. Like, to confer confidence. And so I see that scene as part of a trilogy of scenes. The first one being earlier in the season on the roof, the two of them waiting for this heart, I think it was, to come in, and Robbie tells Langdon, like, "I'm glad you're getting the help you need, but I don't know that I want you in my ED." Mm-hmm. Then you have this scene where he says, "Good job." It's like, and then you have the scene from the finale where Langdon says
it
to
turns,
Robbie,
"Yeah, no, you get your stuff together."
Yeah, like get your life together. And there's like a full turning of their relationship in this one day, where Langdon comes in hangdog and apologizing to everybody. And then he ends the day by telling the boss, "Get your life together." If not for you, if not for everybody else, at least for you. And that moment is the turning moment. Because he gets, when the Old Testament would say, like, when you get the good job, that's literally a blessing. Like, you can do it. I trust you. In that good job was a whole lot of things, which is why Langdon walks out of the room, right, and goes around the corner and has like this very emotive moment to himself, where it's like, I can do it. This person who I think so highly of has anointed me to do it and trust me. And he doesn't have to like me for me to do it. But both he and I know that I can. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge moment, which is why I think it's the medical moment of the season. Because over and over again, what we hear in the critical press, in the review press about this show, is it's not Grey's Anatomy. It's not going to be about people's outside lives and who's sleeping with who. It's not ER that same way. Like, it's about what happens in the ED. Mm-hmm. And even Robbie concretizes that when he has conversation with other doctors saying, like, you got to leave all that other stuff out of here. Like, when you come in here, it's about the ED. So I mean, that's why I picked it. It's a huge moment in the arc of their relationship, and it's a huge moment for Langdon, and his trajectory totally changes after that scene. Even when he says to Mel, like, "I could have killed that guy," and she says, "But you didn't." Mm-hmm. Like, huge moment in the show.
Agreed. I think Langdon ends up being a kind of a silent. There's something to be said about Langdon's character and the wisdom that comes with suffering and public failure. that it's actually after those things, the suffering, after the public failure, where that's when you actually have a worthwhile platform. Prior to all that, you don't know anything, you know, but like he ends up embodying just such a stabilizing presence in the places that he goes. A lot of that ends up being his humility. A lot of it ends up being because he is doing confession with his coworkers. There is like the life of the soul, the spiritual elements, they come into what is such a, you know, stagnant, whitewashed as it were, you know, because it has to be medical space, and yet warmth, spirit, like that. I find that character one of the few that is truly, you know, a glue bonding presence in that space. Big achievement. Second of your topics is the pulpit. The pit takes
because this show preaches.
Come on. It does take big swings at some real issues. We see anti-vax discussions, addiction, mental health. What are the things that landed for you most here?
Yeah, can I this is just continuing on the Langdon trajectory just briefly, because a lot of what you just said also, Jeff, really resonates. So a bit of my story, and Sean, you know this, I've talked about it a bit on the pod previously. So I went into addiction treatment in late 2019, and that. And it was 2 weeks prior to Christmas. My role at that time being coordinating all the various elements for our Sunday services and volunteer teams and our staff team in that Sunday setting, and that meant sitting down with our executive pastor and saying, hey, this is what's been going on, and I'm entering into treatment today. I'm not really asking for permission. This is just what needs to happen, and the love and support, the encouragement that I received from those men in that office, Sean as well, who was a part of the team with me at the time, and many others on that staff and community who continued walking that path with me in the months ahead is something that I will never have the full words of gratitude for. And also, I can really understand how Langdon feels in coming back to a setting that is a place of such belonging and care and responsibility, and a setting in which he feels like the shame of internal betrayal that he no longer deserves, in a sense, to share in the goodness of this place. And to watch the steadiness of just showing up with like you said, humility, with a lack of defensiveness, as I think of when he's called out by Whitaker in the break room, kind of late into the season, because no, our roles have changed too. Don't tell me who I am. And even when Whitaker has lost his ID card, there are certain suggestions along the way, well, is Langdon's back hurting? Is he going to relapse? Should we, be suspicious? And here at the end of the season, where he, comes up and gives his UA, with the person watching every step of it, was like, hey, been there. Because you know what? You've got to re-earn the trust that has been broken. And that is something that happens incrementally and over the course of time. And I really commend the show, and I would say Patrick Ball as well, as a performer, for really tapping into the hope and the hesitancy and the fear and shame and the longing and all of it, the complexity of entering into an already complex space in the midst of these new circumstances, and walking this journey of addiction out, and to do so with courage and honesty. It's something that I wish more shows would tackle with the kind of nuance that this show was afforded, in part due to the time that they have to really develop over the course of not just episodes but seasons.
No, and I appreciate you walking us through that, Mike, because there's been a lot of talk around the show about, hey, do you really need to go through your make amends like on the job? Like, should this have been something that, and shockingly, I've heard from different sources, different things, that, oh, what probably would have happened is he would have done that before he came back to work. And then other people's like, well, not necessarily. But I don't know that there are that many people, and maybe way more people than I would realize, who have had to walk through addiction recovery, coming back into the system that you left, and what that's like, and not knowing, Dana, it's like, hey dude, whatever, like I'm good with you. You're doing what you need to do. And so there's going to be a level in the workplace of those people who, because they love you in a particular kind of way, don't need all of that. And then there are other folks who might feel betrayed or abandoned. And I don't know that there is, I mean, I'm sure there are better ways to do certain things. I don't know that there's necessarily a right way to do it. And that was a thread in this entire season. But if you like open that up a little bit, the question really is about, how do you interact with people that you feel like you have failed, right? And that there's a possibility, because we get so little of this in contemporary society, that sometimes you may actually have failed other people. And they get to respond to that the way that they get to respond to it. Dana is very forgiving. Robbie is grateful he's getting help, but questioning. Santos, who is the most unlikable character on television since that Ray guy who beat up Donna on 90210. Like, she's just not having it. And that's part of the journey, is that you don't control how people respond, but you do control doing the right thing in and of itself, regardless of how they respond.
Yeah, and people are bringing their own, past history and their own experiences with, those battling or substance abuse to whatever degree, or the ways that their lives have been affected on. Like, they're bringing all of that into the equation as well, and so it has that. And I think that's where Langdon is modeling, what that is, to hold the amends really loosely. That the hope is repair. But that's never anything that we can control. What we can control is the self-seeking honesty, the internal seeking honesty and genuine contrition that recognizes the harm done and holds out the hope for reconciliation, however that is received. And then that, to the point of the 12 steps, that just continues to, step 10 is just continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. It's preventing this stuff from stacking up over time. So much of the steps early on, and where Langdon seems to be falling in this place of amends, is this critical juncture of just recognizing all the debris that has been that is, and also some of it happens in the workplace because maybe this person wasn't on the list because like they're trying to cover a lot of ground, and these things are coming up unexpectedly from time to time and need be addressed when the Holy Spirit brings in the opportunity to do so, which I think we see happen multiple times throughout the course of the season.
And I just would like to say, for folks who are listening, and I mean, because this podcast is about these frames and the intersection of faith. Like, my friend John Ortberg has an incredible book that came out this last year called Steps. And it really is helpful, whether you are in recovery or not, about walking through what Langdon's walking through, because there's, you just mentioned it, Mike, about going about repair with people. And we've all injured people. We've all wounded people. Sometimes we know it and sometimes we don't. But when we find out, like, hey, why don't you just fix that as fast as you can instead of all of the machinations about how it wasn't our fault, all of the dodging, like, go ahead and handle that business. So anyway, just wanted to mention that since we had talked about addiction and recovery, that if that's you, like that's part of your story right now, there are so many great helps. And what I think overall we saw in the Pit is that most people are going to be willing to receive you.
Yep.
Amen. I want to talk about that element, the most people, because what Langdon becomes in the story is a catalyst for exposing the motives of the other characters. So, like, I think the Dana Evans character, charge nurse character, her warmth, I'm loving on this family, trying to connect us all, trying to run a tight ship, but so much relational energy going out there. That's not where Robbie lands. Robbie sees as primary his patience and the fact that Langdon has endangered his primary motive, to heal these folks. It's something that he has such a hard time getting over. Just those two characters, we could run down the list, but just those two characters, their motives in the show are exposed by how they relate to Frank Langdon, and well crafted character because of that.
So I do have one defense of Robbie this season, because everybody talks about how horrible Robbie is to everyone this season, and that's objectively true. But he's an attending.
I would want to push back on that. I think, but go ahead.
Well, he is an attending, and this is, we talked about, you mentioned earlier, Jeff, talking about how it intersects with faith and being a pastor, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. And what no one talks about when they talk about the Pit is relational fatigue. And this is something that is shared in common. And here's Robbie. He has medical students, interns, and residents who rotate in and out of that place all the time. Mm-hmm. Langdon will soon be gone. Mohan will soon be gone. Whitaker will soon be gone. Santos will soon be gone, because that's the way it is. And so it seems very natural to me for the patients to be primary and like leave the rest of that crap out of here. Focus on your patients, like, because I have been here for 20 or 30 years and you are just the next one in terms of doctors. And I can save this patient now if we focus on this patient, and I can save future patients of yours and mine if I teach you to focus on patients. And in ministry, one of the things that happens to us all is the relational fatigue. There are people in our churches who stick around for a very long time, but most of them come and go. And you give your life to these people, and you're in relationship with them, and you may be in contact with them for the rest of your life, but they're going to New York. They're moving to San Francisco. They're going to Dallas. They had a job change. They're moving to Atlanta. When our family was living in Temple, Texas, one of the biggest teaching hospitals in Texas is in Temple, like Scott and White. And so young families would come in. One of them's a doctor. And you get to a point where it's like, how much time do I even want to invest in these people? Because this guy's going to go join a practice in Dallas in a couple years, and we may never hear from them again. And that's a real thing. So part of what is happening to Robbie in terms of his connection with his fellow doctors is, you are a ship passing in the night in terms of time. This moment is big for you. It is not big for me. So let's focus on the patients, because that's the one thing we have in common. someone else is house sitting during this trip than house sat during my last trip.
Which underscores his central dilemma that he has no real relationships of any meaningful depth and investment outside the walls, or seemingly outside the walls of that establishment. I mean, you could, I suppose, debate with, Duke if you wanted to, but that seems to be also have its own very limited parameters of, the world of motorcycles.
It seems like I think you're spot on. He's functioning so often as a teacher, and teachers have this same issue. Next year's another group of 11th graders, or I think we talked about that, didn't we, in our last podcast?
My wife deals with that all the time. She's like, just when you start to like them,
It seems like the Dana Evans character is different because she's sticking around. The charge nurse or the doctor who's overseeing the night shift, the
Abbott,
the combat vet. What was his name?
Abbott
seems to be sticking around. It seems like they have a little bit more investment. He takes their words differently. Their relationships are different. But
you were, first scene of first season, right? He's the one that's on the roof.
Yeah, right.
And it's Robbie that kind of talks him down. And I talked to some emergency department doctors, and the night shift is slower.
Right.
You're getting gunshot wounds and things that happen from DWIs and that sort of thing, but it's just the pace is a little bit slower, and you see that in the show. The night shift seems to have a camaraderie when they show up, like they've got a name for themselves. We're the night crawlers, which is why so many fans are like clamoring for, we need the Pitt night shift, which I'm all for. Like, sign me up. It's just a different vibe on the night shift. Robbie jokes, but only to himself, right? But they're like, hey, at 1 a.m., do you want to switch? Like, why do you want to do that? Spice, variety's the spice of life. He's like, I thought that was garlic. Like those, they seem to have a lot more fun on the night shift. But yeah, that's why. But Robbie and Abbott's relationship is an enduring one because they are day shift and night shift stable. They are the stabilizing factor. Dana's a stabilizing factor. When the computers go down, when they turn the computers down, what's Dana's instinct? Like, let me call an old retired charge nurse, who was then the stabilizing factor. So, yeah, I think part of Robbie's problem is people come and go, and that's his entire life. Whether they are living or dying or doctoring, they come and go.
Let's talk about Robbie for a minute, just to, like, what's your take on this character? Aside, is there anything more to say on this character?
Well, so I think I think Robbie is a good character for this category, for the pulpit, and that's Pitt with 2 T's. Get it? Pulpit. Get it? Get it? And that the entire season for me, so I'm going to take that as my pick in this category, is about Robbie's mental health. And this is another overlap with the pastorate and ministry. There's a meme going around I sent to some friends where Robbie is telling Abbott, he tells Abbott, the most important things I've ever done in my life have been done in this place, in this hospital. Nothing will ever matter more, but it's killing me. And the meme going around with some of my friends is like, the most important things I've ever done have been in this church. Nothing will ever matter more, but it's killing me. Yeah. And like, that is a very real feeling amongst and in helping professions. because you're dealing with, as my friend Jonathan says, you know the worst about the best people. And someone's always getting married and someone's always being buried. There's always a divorce going on. It is, you can wake up any day in ministry and walk into the worst situation in someone's life. And we are doing that all the time, like regularly. We are regularly involved in the worst situations that life brings.
That's what struck me most. I deeply resonated with this character because this if I was in that room, this is exactly what my personality type is like, and I would push all my chips into a word you used before, which was stability. I would just want to be a stabilizing influence on everybody, elevate them to their best selves. We're here to do a job and execute. And that is the tragic flaw in that character. He's trying to be stable so much and he's got nobody to talk to, it seems. Or does he? I suppose I say that, but like the channels for, here would be the thing. His channels for exposing that he is very, very weak in some spaces. If he confesses that to the staff as a whole, that would be, what would happen? If he unveiled his tragic flaw, what happened?
Well, isn't that the great fear in ministry too? Like,
that's what I mean.
I'm not trying to conceal my flaw from you.
Yeah.
My flaws from you. I'm not trying to conceal it because I'm being secretive. I hold it close because it would be so destabilizing for you.
That's it.
Like you would feel the ground shifting under you, even though your life really wouldn't change all that much. That
I think back to the end of the first season, and I can't remember what the medical crisis was, but it's where Dr. Robbie has his breakdown, where it all just catches up with him. He cannot take it anymore, and he just collapses and cries. And I think it's Whitaker that comes in and sees him, and it's very jarring for Whitaker to see his mentor in this place of vulnerability. And it's something that, clearly Robbie has tried to lock down, but when he's talking to Duke and he's just, what is my hope here? It's, I wrote it down. What, dance till you drop, teach the kids before you do, hope they make it farther than you. Like, that's not an incredibly hopeful path to set, because what he's modeling is he'll say, like, I'll make you a hell of a doctor and you're going to be a miserable person. And so where I see the counterpoint is what's being, wrestled with in some of these characters. Like, maybe this place isn't made for everybody. Maybe this, mega church isn't made for everyone seeking to follow and to serve the Lord in this ways. But like, I think about like Langdon and the suggestions that maybe family medicine is the place that he belongs long term. I think about like Samira Mohan, and who will likely, discover the pace of geriatrics much more up her alley, and Robbie could have found a way to tell her that wasn't totally insulting in the process. But what he's saying is true. Like, maybe this is and I want to call out as well here, because I don't know that I will otherwise, is Irene Choi, who plays the med student Joy Kwan. And when it's the end of her shift, and, they say like, well, no, you really need to stay. We're really in the weeds here. And she says, no.
Yeah.
I'm
going home.
I get paid extra for that? No. I'm going to hold my boundaries, because this place is not going to hold them for me. And Robbie can't teach me that, because he doesn't know how to do that.
Right. And also when Javadi has a conversation, I think it's Javadi has a conversation where she's like, look what this place does to people.
Yeah.
And I've had that conversation.
Has that ever been said at a church about the staff?
Today?
I think it gets, it gets said around it. Like I remember, like I was on the board of a spiritual formation ministry that worked with people in ministry, and they had this track record, which we were trying to combat, of kind of talking people out of ministry. like people would like go through their processes and like, oh, I think I want to leave. And I don't want to discourage anybody from necessarily doing ministry. And one of the people who ran that ministry told me, like, part of what we do and why it ends up being like that is that once people get in touch with themselves and in touch with God in a certain way, they start to see how much this is costing them. And a certain percentage of those folks decide to be like Joy and be like, no, I'm going home.
This was my take on the Mohan relationship, which comes across as so painful. Like Robbie is so mean to this person, and they have a conversation early on in the season about how she wanted to be a mother, and he wants to be a father with his skate rink or whatever. I think he is intentionally being as bad a person as he can to her to chase her off, because if she does get into geriatrics, she's going to have a kid.
Mm-hmm. She can have it. She can have her life that way.
She can, but she can't if she keeps going. There's so many. I feel like his relationships with so many of the people are of that sort. Like he's trying to intentionally steer them, perhaps as a good teacher might, into spaces where he sees them thriving in a way that he can't.
Well, he's trying to build Whitaker in his image. He's like, yeah, come and like sublet my apartment. And he's looking at Whitaker getting in the pickup truck with, farm lady at the end. And like this thing that everyone has been making fun of, like Whitaker has become this this is the target of ridicule because, he's found himself in this relationship where it actually seems kind of sweet and normal in a way that Robbie can't quite compute in that moment. But I think you're really getting at something that he's trying to create. He's trying to have them follow the path that he followed, but maybe that's not the path that these individuals need. And he is ill-equipped to recognize. But I do like your point about Mohan and maybe there being an underlining intentionality, even if it wouldn't be something he could articulate explicitly.
I think they are meant to be the same person in some ways. I think that I don't know that she's a foil, but the idealism of the two, and she'll do that job because she thinks she has to. I think he's chasing her off, and it may not be executed as well as cleanly as I might like to expose that, but that's like on reflection on this, I can't understand why he's so mean to her aside from something like that, because it's out of character with how he deals with everybody else, But my on the pulpit side, the topic for me was the death of expertise. It's hilarious how often people will walk into an emergency room filled with people who have spent their lives studying an issue and say, you don't know what you're talking about. My arm hurts.
Yeah. TikTok. I saw a TikTok video about this. Yeah.
Just how often they're back talking people with decades of experience in the emergency room. And that is our culture. I was able to search this on Google, so clearly I know more than you. And it just over and again is shown, not told, that this can get you killed, kid. And I just love that. I love that element of the show.
Well, I mean that whole storyline of this woman who's created her entire health journey has been built around Instagram influencers, right? Well, and so that's writ large across so many different genres of life, aspects of life, that I saw this online, and so I'm gonna do that, and there is a measure of the show, I think, that is actually asking people to make better decisions, right? We got a girl who bites her tongue off trying to, do an Instagram picture.
Yeah, right.
We've got burned girl, which I thought was hilarious because there were a couple of times where she was just walking around in the background, which I thought was hilarious.
Such a good side character.
And Santos's little speech, which of course it's Santos, so it's the most unkind way to say it about, I just look for people to do the stupidest thing possible. Like, I just assume that they've done the dumbest thing that they could do. And that's what this is, which isn't completely untrue in the emergency room. Like, yeah, you did something stupid. Like, you are just putting pills on a table and just taking whatever pills.
Maybe the funniest moment of this season is also one of the most tragic in that it's right after Robbie's bike has been hit, and it's when the ambulance rolls up in the bay, and it's the young guy who gets out, and he's had a firework incident, and he's singing and carrying on and cursing, and he's like the least deserving person of medical care possible in that moment, as Robbie is like facing his greatest personal crucible, and it's like, this is the person I got to take care of right now. Like, this is the guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh goodness.
All right, last. Did you have one, Mike? Did I miss yours on the pulpit?
I mean, mine was the
about
Langdon and the addiction piece. I think that, I mean, along with that, I think all of the conversation around mental health and how generationally there are those very different experiences with regard to our own felt expectations and how we show up in our workplaces. And I think what we have to learn about a more balanced, integrated way of being in the world. I think that some of our Gen Z, folks are much healthier at in current iterations, is my understanding, or what I'm sensing.
All right, third category is unexpected tears. So I'm a TV movie crier, so lots to choose from for me. But why don't you guys go first, since I have other options if you pick mine.
I mean, I'll do mine a couple. I think mine fall into the same category, and it's not really unexpected necessarily, but I love the moments where this show will really slow down, and whether it's getting into the process of care or whether it's what comes before or after. I think of like three moments. One with Louis, played by Ernest Harden Jr. He's a regular. He's got his punch card in the ED and is there often. And they've drained him of fluid earlier on, and then he has a crisis and passes, and they have one of their rare moments of pause as they are saying goodbye to him. It's a moment that ends an episode early on in the season, and it's just holding the sacredness of that passing moment. I thought was done beautifully. That was I think probably my favorite single scene of the whole season. I think about Digby, who's another homeless drifter played by Charles Baker, Skinny Pete on Breaking Bad, and Nurse Dana giving him a haircut. And just this moment of dignifying
humanity.
And
yeah.
Can you see yourself in the way that you have forgotten to see yourself? And yes, your daughter can see you this way once again. And then I think about Dana attending to the woman who had been raped earlier in the day, the sexual assault victim at the hands of a friend at a party. And the slowness of that scene that unfolds over the course of an entire, episode and beyond, and the level of attunement, of delicacy, of kindness, compassion is in Catherine Lanassa's performance, but just Dana as a caregiver and what she's modeling to this new nurse Emma. Is just discipleship at work. It's like, this is not only how we do this is why we do this. And this is how we do this because of why we do this.
I want to build on that slightly. Just that theme of stability all over that character, that performance, that whole day, and then she crashes. That's when it hit me. Is like she held all of that in, all of her own. What I assume is her own unresolved grief and trauma. It's something that's happened to her, and she's serving this person in that space, and she's doing the training, and she's stable for this person in one of their worst moments. Holds it all, holds it all, holds it all. She's alone, and bang. And well constructed there.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful scene. I mean, I didn't have unexpected tears during the SANE exam, and I think you're dead on, Mike, in terms of this moment of discipleship. And that's also that would have been a great candidate for the pulpit too, because she has some things to say about how sexual assault victims are cared for both in the hospital and then by the police. Like it's trying to tell us something there. Mine is going to be the most obvious, but I pay attention to myself when I see something, and then I want to see it again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And it is Robbie's final monologue to Baby Jane Doe. It's just undeniable. Like, everything's going to be just fine. You know, you were abandoned. I was abandoned too. You've got so many wonderful things to see and so many people to love ahead of you. After all of the reveals of this season, like, we know that he's in a deep depression, probably suicidal. We find out that he was abandoned, and there are some just key moments in that scene. And this is why I love storytellers in visual genres, because they do things that, if you're paying attention, like, deepen what we're experiencing. He takes off the stethoscope and hangs it before he picks up Baby Jane Doe. So he is defrocking himself of being Dr. Robbie. He's entering into a human moment with this baby that he doesn't need to be a doctor for. And then, if you will watch the scene closely, he's lit by a painted sun halo on the wall behind him.
Important. I think this is important for we should talk about this.
Like, in so many ways, this season has been driving to this moment. And, you know, there's all of the conjecture online that what's going to happen is that he's not going to go on sabbatical for the next 3 months. He's going to take those 3 months off and basically adopt Baby Jane Doe for the next 3 months so that she has a place. And they're going to participate in one another's healing. He's going to be for her what his mom couldn't be for him. I heard a therapist recently say that there are only two wounds. There's the abandonment wound and the inadequacy wound. And the rest of them are outgrowths of those things. And so what we have seen unfold, why Robbie can't leave, why he feels so wounded by Langdon, is his very own abandonment wound. And his whole life has been trying to fix this abandonment wound. And Duke is the prophet who tells him, hey, you can get on that bike and go anywhere. That abandonment wound is going to be with you wherever you take it. And so, like, I am not a TV and film crier, Jeff. I cry even thinking about that scene.
I'm with you.
I agree. Go ahead, Jeff.
The things that hit me there that was most meaningful for my heart was that the show creators are showing you that he's a saint. And I needed to see that. I needed to see, because he's clearly a flawed character through that show. And you're up, Mike.
So I have one little problem with this scene, I think. And maybe it's just the writing of it. I really have a problem when he says the words out loud, My Mom Abandoned Me When I Was 8. There's something about I'm really going to circle and underline and underscore, like, we're going to make sure you get this theme. I'm going to hit it with a hammer as many times as I need to. And I'm wondering aloud in this moment if and this may be in part, Noah Wiley as executive producer and, shaper of the vision of this. Like, are you doing a disservice to now finishing this season with this image of this character who literally, I mean, I'm thinking of Dr. Ellis, Aisha Harris, who comes in, and when she kind of like downplays it to Whitaker when he's saying like what a day they've had. And she just said, like, that's just a lot of white knight, white noise. Like, I am used to this. And I've been like all of this drama, and it's always, it's another Gen X dude who just like feels this burden that only he can control and rise to. And I'm looking at, I think about Javati and her videos and, the conversation she has with Robbie in the last episode about, jumping into like emergency psychology and something like, and he, like, granted, affirms her in the ways that he could have much earlier on. Like, you can do anything you put your mind to, but I'm curious if there is a, like, y'all's thoughts on the gender component, and I think like the racial component as well of the character, the people of color who are generally speaking much more like, we're going to come in and get the job done and leave the drama at the door, seemingly more so than a lot of these characters. I'm curious your thoughts on how well the show does or does not wrestle with that element.
Doing a full inventory real quick.
I think about like our Filipino nurses. Like, they're not the ones bringing the drama.
Right.
Like, they're doing the job.
I talk with people of color often about something that me and my friends call, I'm getting in a lot of trouble for saying this.
Do it.
What we call white girl no syndrome. And here's what white girl no syndrome is that there are all of these white girls, usually some degree of attractive, who make their way through life. And then in adulthood, someone finally tells them no. They're daddy's little princess. They are chased around in high school. They get celebrated with pretty privilege. And then someone finally tells them no, and that's persecution. And that's the full weight of the patriarchy. And people of color say, this is just some normal crap that happens to everybody. Right? And like, I think the white boy, white noise is her saying, that's white boy no syndrome. Like, we all have to deal with this. Life is hard. You got to escape life being hard because you had all of this privilege built into your system. Does not mean you didn't work or study, but you did not have obstacles to overcome the same way that many, many other people did. And now when you do, you take it as more extraordinary than it actually is.
I like that.
So that may be what's going on. That's a theory. Send your angry emails to Jeff Cook.
Well, one sense of self and purpose in these environments and how much you elevate the work that you're doing is what I'm hearing there. Like, there are some doctors there who think what they are doing is irreplaceable. Like, no other human being in the world can do what they do. Therefore, they are irreplaceable. Therefore, they're going to slaughter their character because they and they alone are the ones that get to bear this cross. And some of the other folks there have a moderated sense of their power and their purpose, and it makes them much healthier people. Like, extremism seldom leads to a good soul. is what I heard there. I don't know if that's hitting on what you're saying, but.
And I do want to say, Mike, the whole "my mom left me when I was 8" did feel to me like streaming writing, which this show usually avoids. And for those of you who don't know what streaming writing is, it is where you have like to reset the table and tell everybody everything like every 8 minutes because people are scrolling through their phones while the show is on. It did hint at streaming writing, which is why when I wrote my Substack about that scene, I left that line out. It was like I don't want you to think that I am writing that poorly. But
I'm just a proponent of less is more. Like, I think that scene accomplishes everything that you're saying if he simply takes off the stethoscope and holds the baby. Totally wordless.
I'd love to push into, aside from that element, it worked. I suppose in the moment it worked for me because I needed that little bond and connection. But the idea that, and I don't get into, I hate this form of therapy. The talking to your younger self form of therapy is something I'm knee-jerk opposed to. But that's what I saw in this
Little
scene,
Jeff needs it, Jeff.
Lovely. Little Jeff grew up. Little Jeff is doing just fine.
Oh, he's still in there.
Little. I'm
but
just saying.
Here's my pushback on that,
Yeah,
Jeff.
please.
I don't think he's talking to his younger self.
Okay.
I think he's talking to his present self, and he's narrating his story to himself.
True.
And that's why it's important that he says, like, there are beautiful things to see and people to love. It is this reminder for everyone who has suffered with or in a deep depression. We all know, like, you do have to remind yourself. Like, and this is the Psalms over and over again. Like, my soul said to who? My soul, or to me. Like I have to tell myself that these things are true. I need to hear them from my voice. Because I'm countering the voice in my head. My mother left me when I was 8. Like, and I made it. Like, you can make it because I made it. And so he's like, I made it. And it is this thing where you have to remind yourself that God has been faithful, and here's how I know. Mm-hmm. Even though it might feel like God is not faithful here. Like, I survived that thing, correct, so I will survive this thing. And so it's actually I don't hear it as talking to my inner child. I hear it as speaking to my soul. And Robbie is speaking to himself and holding a baby because he knows, and we all know, that baby doesn't understand a word that he's saying.
I would love to build on that. And I think you're bringing in the temporal dynamic, which I suppose I'm trying to capture. And I think this is really valuable of saying there is something about saying not only to, incorporating your past self, speaking of your past self, or having your past self speak to your present self, but all of those lessons point towards your future and what might be expected. And living in that reality of past, present, and future is part of, I think, the holier. There's a lot of stuff in the scriptures that encapsulate the whole of history in one sentence over and over again. When you take this bread, you remember what I did until I come again, kind of imagery, where all of time is encapsulated in these kinds of phrases. And I suppose that's what I see, because he does have a future. And what he's saying right there is about his future in some element as well. So that sort of stuff nails for me. My scene was just that I was going to actually say that scene as well. That was the one I cried the most at. The Duke scene I thought really worked. And I thought you were right in terms of saying this is almost a prophetic character. He's clearly one of the few people. He's one of the few people that doesn't need Robbie for anything. And that makes him, he has nothing but care to give to Robbie. And when he speaks, it has a different timbre and tone. And in my experience in ministry, I didn't have this person, and that's why things broke a lot. And this is why I was not good at my job, is because everybody's dependent on me, is my perception in a lot of the ways that I do a lot of my work. This is not a healthy way to be in the world. But when your job is the fixer, it's really hard to get fixed. And like he has confession being exemplified by Langdon. He has some humility. He has moderation being exemplified by his staff. He has so many people to learn from, and his heart is just, it's hard in the sense that he's not stubborn but determined. He's so focused so often, and that scene just cuts because obviously when he finds permission to be honest, it's gonna be about how he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So the great thing about Duke is that he doesn't need Robbie for anything, and we don't even know if he wants what Robbie has to offer. He's late coming to the hospital. He wants to leave the whole time. When Robbie tells him he's got to have this procedure, he's like, I want to think about it. And Robbie's like, well, you got to promise to call me. Like, and this is what everyone in any helping profession needs in their lives, is someone who doesn't give a crap about what you do.
Yep.
Just because those are the only people, especially in ministry, those are the only people in your life that you can trust are in a relationship with you to be in a relationship for you. And not some outgrowth of you've got a position of authority or you can help me and all of that. And Duke is just like, Duke even says like I've had a good run. Like if this heart condition kills me, like the thing you have to offer me, Robbie, what you have made your life about, I don't necessarily know that I want and need. So I don't have to say or do anything to stay in relationship with you transactionally. So I can just tell you the truth.
Exactly.
It's the frog in boiling water thing. Like it's his prophetic, the prophetic presence needs to exist outside the system because only that person can look internally and say like, this system is messed up and it's killing you. Like I think that the simplicity of what Duke is saying, whether you go off on the road, or whether you stay, like, just promise me you're going to come back, because like the answers ultimately, what he's saying to Robbie cannot be found there. Like I'm even in the moment. I'm preparing to preach at our little church here in Houston on Sunday. And we use the lectionary, and the reading this weekend is John 10 and talking about Jesus, the shepherd, and the lines that keep coming out to me is at the end when it says that the shepherd will you will come in and go out and find pasture. It's the safety is not within the sheepfold. It's life is out there, the abundant life to which you are truly called. It's out there, pasture, provision, rest. It's out there in the world. Not in this space that has become your sole sense of safety and identity, because it is none of those things. It is the place that you feel safe because it's the only place that you can control or think you can.
Yep. Yep. Control, bringing up controls, I think, really important. It's good. All right. Fourth category. We got some MVPs, some least valuable players. And who's your favorite ringer? Sean, you want to tackle this first?
So my MVP is Dr. Al-Hashimi. I think she brings an element, and my wife just rolled her eyes at me saying that, as did my children. She's new this season. And she is like this picture of professional restraint. But also this strong kind of humility and kindness. And she gets revealed slowly over the season. When you meet her, it's almost like a foil for Robbie, and you kind of don't like her because you're like, hey, Robbie's my attending. And then she's like, use my generative AI app and all of it. And it seems like she's like Gloria from last season, who was just Miss Corporate. And then you find out slowly about her son and about her seizures. And she carries this deep care both for the doctors and the patients. She is a balance, and I heard so many doctors say, because the criticism early on was that she's so cold and calculating, and doctors told me like that's pretty natural for women in medicine, because they are predicted to be emotional, so they come in very straightforward and cold and all of that. And maybe it's because I have 2 primary care doctors, and they are both Middle Eastern women, and they are fabulous, and I think really highly of them. But here's what I liked most about her. I never caught her acting. Just as a performance. And in a show that takes place over 15 hours and 15 episodes, they're not filming all that in one take. And to show up in the same persona, I think is really quite a feat. And they didn't give her a lot of range. Like, she's not funny. She didn't have any huge case that she followed. She is the kind of doctor I would want in my ER if I were to show up as a patient. So great addition that everyone that people did not like at the beginning of the season. Her breakdown in the car during the finale. By that time, she had won over the entire audience. So she's my MVP. My least valuable player is
Can I speak to her real quick?
Yeah.
Just real quick. I don't know if I'll get a chance again. Here is the understated writing that Mike's looking for. I think her car scene is understated and expertly crafted. A lot of the communication in that has to do with the fact that her hair is down. And they did that a couple times. And the fact that you don't know. I mean, me and my wife are waiting for her to get in a car wreck, and so we're coming back for season 3, and we got to put her back together or something like that. And they didn't go down that road, just left her in the parking lot crying. I thought that was just I want writers to get to that spot. That was just expertly done, and well executed by
You and Mike want writers to get to that spot, because when we sit down to watch something, we actually watch it. And the majority of people are also on TikTok as they're watching. And so you have to explain everything. That scene is really powerful. I don't know that she could carry a show on her own, like in Noah Wiley's place, but she brings a third leg to that stool with Robbie and Dana, that she can be trusted. And you understand by the end of the season why all of the things that she did and why she goes about them. Like even when she says, says to Robbie, I've never been sued, right? That's armor about her seizures.
Yeah.
That I've been able, knowing that I have this condition and I've been able to not manage it, but also how devastating is this place that I can go a year without a seizure, and one day I have 2 of them here. So anyway, I thought she was the best addition, but I think it came at the price of my least valuable player.
Come on.
Which was Dr. McKay.
Oh,
virtually nothing happened with her. this season. Like, I don't know that she had to be there at all.
Was this she cared for the cancer victim? Was
Yes, she did. Yeah. And she trailed off, especially toward the second half of the season. So what we know is she had the cancer victim, and she got asked by the guy to meet her at the museum after her shift was over. And that was it. Like, she didn't have much to do all season. And it's a crowded show. There are a lot of doctors. You only got 15 hours. I don't know that the story of the woman, the wife and mom with cancer, was really powerful. Story is really emotive. But absent that, she could have not been here the entire season, and it wouldn't have mattered for the rest of the show. It's almost like she works at a different ED. Robbie gets on to her for going across the street to the park to treat the woman that she met while serving on the street team.
Right. And
she's like, I need you here. And I was like, do you? Because she's not doing a whole lot. So those are my most valuable and least valuable.
What'd you say, Mike?
Sure. Yeah. So my most valuable, this is, I'm going to call out, two names. I've named one already, but this is more of a placeholder for just the support staff as a larger entity, like all of the, nurses and techs and medics that keep everything running on time. So I think about, mentioned her earlier, brassy old nurse Monica, played by Rusty Schwimmer, who comes, she's retired, but comes in to help them through this shift, especially as the, electronic systems have all gone down, which does not ruffle her in the slightest because she has seen everything there is to see. And then on the other side, you've got Emma, Letitia Collard. This is her first day, and she has quite a first day, through, getting physically assaulted and manhandled by a patient, which again, they, are mindful to denote, happens with alarming regularity. But being married to a nurse now for, 17 some odd years, and to know the burden that they hold. I think about Nurse Jessie, played by a real life nurse who is taken into custody by the ICE agents early in the season. Have so much respect for those who work in that profession. I wanted to call them out. My least valuable player, I think that this is not her fault. And I hate even saying, Taylor Dearden's name in this category. But I think that our Dr. Mel King, one of our favorites, was really not well served by her storyline in this season. I think that her worry over the deposition, and now has to go to a second deposition that she's going to worry about. This is a nightmare for her and for us, actually. But then even the storyline with her sister, and the demands that her sister's boyfriends call her, when they get back from where they're at, and have that be a scene that's revisited multiple times. I don't think it does enough to serve the independence and development of this person, aside from her relationship as a caregiver for her sister. I think that it's just, it doesn't give enough development for her, separate from what we had already learned about her in the first season. And I think what she brings as a performer in a character is too special to be sidelined in the way that I feel like she was throughout much of this second season. So really the LVP is on, John Wells. That's on you.
So I just want to get this straight, that your most valuable player is MAGA Monica.
Is she MAGA?
Go rewatch. It's
she just wants her margaritas and her mahjong, those are her politics. Like
when anything about immigration or LGBTQ stuff comes up, like, she has this look on her face. She is displeased. I will put it that way. And I'm gonna make it a theological
I do have one
statement
more
about that. I'm
LVP
just like,
though,
she's just
unless
not
I'm going to
there.
step on Sean, because like I hope that Ogilvy's Nightmare Day means we'll never see him again. Hope he just cried himself off of the ambulance bay, never to be seen.
So funny.
Well, what about you, Jeff? Your MVP, LVP.
So, of all things, my MVP was similar to Mike's. I thought the ensemble is the real MVP. Like, it's hard to create chemistry at the levels I think they really do here, in terms of the overlapping of again, motives, identity issues. Everyone, it seems to me that I've said a lot about Langdon, but Langdon's is just out front, and that there's an issue. But all these characters have real issues that they're wrestling with, and the overlap of those, I think, is the most valuable player of these. I feel like I want to go to bat slightly for Dr. Melissa King, only because I'm father of a neurodivergent child myself, and so I don't know if this was, I don't normally feel this in shows where they have they've made a character for viewers like me, kind of thing. That doesn't normally happen, except for like all the white male heroes, which are 90% of the stories that are out there. So I suppose those guys are for me as well. But
I'm totally with you, because I was, as Mike was going into it, I was like, you take Mel King's name out of your mouth. Like,
again, I said it wasn't about her. It was about her being underserved.
The things that I really appreciated was, not only is she caring for an autistic sister, she herself is neurodivergent, and I loved that element, because my child looks much more like her than like her more severely neurodivergent sister. So like when she comes out and hears that she has to have another deposition, and just her head goes down and she grunts. I have seen this look 1,000 times. 1,000 times I have seen this look. And I was like both my wife and I like grabbed each other in that scene, because of what it communicates. And the fact that she lands, another character whose hair is down at the end, Santos redeeming moment. Santos, who here's another subtlety that somebody pointed out that I didn't notice, that she had grabbed a scalpel. Did you all hear this?
Yeah, earlier in the show, earlier in the season.
Instead of her own, self-harm that might be coming up, she is out there grabbing her colleague, and we're going to go scream this out. We're going to go, do some karaoke. And that, again, just the MVP for me, the chemistry of all these overlapping characters really worked for me.
And just to close the loop on that, we see earlier in the season that she does grab a scalpel, and I believe we see earlier she goes to the restroom and she has scars on her legs. So there was some talk early in the season of whether she's a cutter.
Yeah.
But they kind of left that dangling.
Yeah.
And we never closed the loop on it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Taylor Dearden is neurodivergent herself. So it's not just the character and the character sister, which I don't necessarily know if television and movies always need to cast people from a community to represent a community. I know there's a lot of debate about that.
Sure.
But I think that's one of the things that people love about her character. And I also think like the audience is being educated about neurodivergence through her character, to the point where people are like, oh, I didn't know that people with those conditions and diagnoses could do that. And so I think she's an important character. I do agree with Mike. She should have had more to do. But when she's on the screen, I immediately get happier. Like, this is just a person you want to spend time with.
Yeah, just
wanna
sidelined
know-
through so much of the medical action throughout the season, though, in ways that I think just do the ensemble a bit of a disservice.
My least valuable player is Whitaker. He's just way too nice. It just gets tedious.
Well, his lift rating got appropriately dinged as a result, so maybe he'll learn his lesson.
Quite true. I think he serves the chemistry perfectly, but just on if somebody must be the least valuable player in a team that is perfectly constructed, that's where I'm going.
I will say this about Whitaker. The Whitaker Langdon scene in the break room about the skipper and Gilligan, that was an absolutely useless scene. That was completely unearned, but is out of the blue. Like, you could have cut that out and given so many other people on this cast something to do with that 5 minutes. Like, it was completely useless. I don't know why it was there. It tried to. You can't introduce tension that's just unearned between characters. It rang false to me.
Well, speaking of things that ring false, sometimes you write just for the Emmys. And our last category is for the Emmys. Is there a scene that was? Do you mean by this that it was overwritten? It was clearly kind of overwritten, or it's meant
What
to be
I
a showpiece?
mean by that category is this was written as with the intention of submitting this scene to the Academy for an Emmy nomination.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to, and Aaron Sorkin was the king of this at West Wing. Like, every fall there'd be a Toby episode, a Josh episode, a CJ episode that was designed as their vehicle to get an Emmy nomination. So what scene through this season, or even which episode is designed clearly to create an Emmy nomination? So I will go first since I created the category.
Come on.
Catherine LaNasa's rape kit exam and the detective confrontation.
Yeah.
What she does in that, it's 2 episodes that she's doing the rape kit. And that was written, that arc exists to get her another Emmy for playing this character. It was a great scene, great arc. She's certainly not going to get it for saying Baby Jane Doe 40,000 times this season. But those scenes, absent of Baby Jane Doe-ness, are they're gonna submit for her Emmy nomination. What for you guys?
Mike.
So as we've discussed, I am very much a proponent of show don't tell. So I had a problem with this category because they're the moments I tend to forget the soonest because I just kind of push them out of my mind. So I think it's already been brought up. I'll bring my contender in just 4 words: Dr. Robbie baby therapy.
It's truth. Both those, we've mentioned all the scenes that would strike me. I thought the most it felt. I thought that it was executed very well. The rape kits scene. These are things I am ignorant of, so it was very instructive to me in terms of seeing. Okay, this is how things work, the procedures, the vulnerability that would be experienced by those who are experiencing recent trauma, and obviously those who are caring for them. But that did it. I'm positive that it probably will get that sort of acclaim, and deservingly so. I'm not a big Emmys viewer, so I don't actually know what they're looking for most of the time. But you got somebody who wants your attention.
Hi, Rev.
Well, that's what we got. Last thoughts on the Pitt and its overlap with the sacred.
Well, this is not the overlap with the sacred, but I would be remiss if I did not call out my friend and former stage colleague, Deepti Gupta, who plays Dr. Shamsi, chief of surgery, mother of our friend Dr. Javadi, who needs to be so much nicer to her just beautiful, talented, brilliant daughter. So I was in a play with Deepti way back in the day at the University of Texas at Austin, Hook 'em. And so every time I see Dr. Shamsi show up, I turn to my wife and I say, uh-oh, Deepti's here. Because you know that she is about to be prickly AF. And I love seeing her. But this has been such a lovely conversation, and just a show. We only really kind of scratched the surface of the overlapping nature of this setting and the burnout of ministry. But it's one that, is certainly on my mind. And, those, all three of us have been on church teams and have seen just folks ground down by the system and the expectation. And what Duke says, went out at the ambulance bay, that like this record never stops spinning. And like, there is a sense of that is the case. There's always next Sunday. There's always the next trauma, and, folks coming in with their messes and doubts and questions. And it is impossible to do alone. And so I love those moments where we see this team coming alongside with, and not just with, but for one another, and knowing that they can only attend to this life-giving care if they do so in a way that is collaborative and integrated and mutually supportive in the ways that at its best we see the Pitt do things that are truly miraculous, and also we see the toll that it takes on those who are on the front lines, and that's not just the case in hospital settings. That is in caregiving professions across any number of spectrums. And so the manner in which we can grow in our ability to have compassionate eyes for the degree to which people are truly giving of themselves sacrificially for the sake of others in ways both seen and unseen, like it makes us all healthier and more integrated as a caring collective for the betterment of humanity. And may it be, we need it desperately. Those are my thoughts.
Love it. Thought, Sean?
Well, I mean, that was really so beautiful and thoughtful, Mike. And I was thinking that I would spring a surprise category on everyone really quick, because you can just say it in a name.
Perfect.
So my surprise category is character you'd follow to their own spinoff.
Ooh. I got mine.
Mine is obviously Abbott to the Pitt night shift.
That would be mine as well. That's a handsome man. I don't normally say this, but it's a handsome man. I'd watch his show.
All right, so I'm gonna go Pitt night shift as well, but I prefer Abbott off the ball. So I'm gonna put Dr. Ellis, Aisha Harris, at the center of that show.
It's perfect. Yeah, the clamoring for the night shift, I do think, is going to be high, though. On if there were a spinoff, that's funny. Was that your last word? Was the sixth category?
That was my last word. Talking with you guys makes me want to go and rewatch it from beginning to end, because there's so much to be mined there, just like Mike said, especially for people in helping professions. And I do want to say again, so addiction, suicidal ideation, so many that if you need help, like, there are tons of resources, and I really want to encourage you to dig them up.
I'd like to land there as well. Like, the thing that hit me most was the very honest and well cast perspective of leadership, in terms of these people are leaders being leaders, and you can see their motive, and these people are staff being staff and learners, and you can see their motive. And I think, from at least my experience from doing work in church world, is I don't have good glasses for non-leadership, and that ended up being a real detriment for me. And what I really appreciated about this is exposing the superhuman leader and the just how badly that can go in what seems a healthy, stable individual, and just I don't know, that's resonating with me. I've been really, really sad recently, and have been trying to say this to more people. I have no like exit plans or anything like that. Like, I'm just sad, and and a lot of my friends will tell me to feel my feelings, which I'm trying to figure out what that means. Notice how I'm pivoting to my head with even the statement, but
I don't know what it means either. I have asked that question for many, many years.
It's apparently a thing. And just, but I think I have built up a lot of muscle in these spaces of having, of being the center point, stable person. And so anyway, the show was really good for my heart on those fronts. And that's my word. So we got any movies that we're going to pick up here? Anything coming out that should be on the radar?
Well, I don't know about you guys. Mike and I are seeing Mother Mary on sometime this week.
Huh?
And Michael, which I'm worried about because the reviews are looking really terrible. I'm going to try to catch both those this weekend.
I just find it curious that Michael ends with the release of Bad. I feel like we're missing some of the story, but that's, as we've discussed, hagiography is different than biography. So maybe we'll get into it. We will certainly get into something coming up here on the next Sacred Frames.
I mean, if we really wanted to get out of the box, since we've already dipped our toe into TV shows, Maul will have concluded here in a little bit, and I hear tell that there might be a conversion to some of the Star Wars animation.
Well, I do watch the Star Wars animation. I don't watch animation generally, but I think the animation that Mike doesn't watch is the Star Wars animation. But
I'm really trying to get myself excited about The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I can't seem to do it, guys. I don't know. What's wrong with me these days?
And last night I started my rewatch. Yeah. Last night I started my rewatch of The Devil Wears Prada as we gear up for Devil Wears Prada 2. So I don't know if all of your wives are going to drag you to that one, but I know mine is, so I needed to catch up.
It's perfect. I need to rewatch that. I haven't seen it since it came out in the theaters. All right, well, gentlemen, for Movie Mike, Sean Palmer, I'm Jeff Cook. We'll see you next time.
See that?